Good afternoon, Sahara Sparks 2021, future reimagined now. Great, what a great honor to be here today. I just want to take this moment to first of all, congratulate the Sahara Sparks team, Jumanne and his team, for being a doer and for being so consistent with everything that they do. It just baffles me every time I think about how young Jumanne is, and the 10-year career he's had in driving technology in Tanzania. So please, I don't see him here, but let's give him a big round of applause, please. So my name is Irene Kiwia. I am Tanzanian, and I'm here with
Jeff Mkungusi. Pleasure being here.
Great. So we are from the Africa Blockchain Center, and we're very excited to have this opportunity to share a case study of what the Africa Blockchain Center is. To start, I will deal with all the theory things, and Jeff will deal with all the technical things. So the Africa Blockchain Center is a very young company that was literally formulated in September.
Yes.
September 2021, right? Which is 2 months ago. And last week on Friday, we announced a seed funding for the Africa Blockchain Center by an Asian blockchain company called Next Chimia Limited, a 2-month-old startup funded already. And this is what technology does when you have the right concepts and the right ideas. So the ABC is a baby of Adenium Labs. So I'll start by telling you what Adenium Labs is. We used to be called Ada Labs until October, when we rebranded to Adenium Labs. And Adenium Labs is a venture building company, a venture building studio that was launched last year in January 2020. We are the perfect COVID baby. And it was co-founded by myself, Mr. John Kamara, and Bendon Murgo, who's not in the room. And I am from Tanzania, John is from West Africa, and Bendon is from Kenya. And we came together because we saw a huge gap in how technology was built in Africa. Not just technology, but in how tech companies were built in Africa. I had a fantastic idea of a lot of things that I wanted to do, but I didn't know where to start, who to talk to, how technology works, how you build a tech company. And John, who was coming from West Africa, also had a big vision and a lot of opportunities with partners from where he used to work in Europe, who wanted to invest in Africa, but didn't know where to find good companies. And Bendon, a proper techie guy out in Nairobi, has built so many different solutions that were in his computer. So we decided to come together and create a different model on how tech startups are built, because we thought there was a huge gap in how to build sustainable, scalable technology companies. So we put all our efforts and all our resources in one basket, and we piloted this venture building model that we thought was necessary because we wanted to address the issue of technology, so building strong, scalable technology that makes sense, to creating a team that is dynamic and that is knowledgeable, that has the technical know-how, and scale, a platform where we can scale it across Africa, and putting resources, bootstrapping, and building a model that will align with where and how tech companies in the world are run. So we launched Adenium Labs last year in January, and to date, we have built 15 companies across over 7 sectors, and we are headquartered in Kenya, but we're present in Nigeria, Zambia, South Africa, the United Kingdom, and we're now launching here in Tanzania. So it's been quite an amazing journey. And how we work as a venture studio is we take amazing ideas that make sense, that are scalable across the continent. Remember in the morning, for those of you who were here, the opportunity for Africa to strive in technology is in our population. in how we can tap into the 1.3 billion people, and soon will be, one of the largest continents in the world. So thinking of Africa from a borderless perspective as far as technology is concerned. And so we build the technology, we train and mentor entrepreneurs, and we build teams, and we launch the product in our ecosystem, and provide all the resources necessary to de-risk the failure of that startup. So we invest up to a tune of $120,000, and we take equity in that company, and we incubate it for 12 months, where we treat it as our own product. Imagine a startup in a corporate type of support, so de-risking that entire startup model. And when a company exits within 12 months of being in the lab, great case scenario, we would have raised seed funding. And for some companies like ABC, 2 months later, they have seed funding. So that is what differentiates us from a lot of the current hubs and labs and different structures that are there to support startups. So out of the work that we do, one of our main pillars is to build capacity, because we say we want to build 300 tech-powered, impact-driven, commercially viable companies in Africa in the next 5 years, and so help us God, right? So, and it's possible. We have managed to do 15, and the more we build, the easier it will get, and the more we scale, the quicker we're able to launch and build these companies. So capacity building is a very key pillar, because for those of you who are in the morning, we keep talking about this gap, technical capacity. Do we even have enough programmers? There's a huge gap in developers, not just in Africa, but globally. So one of our main pillars is building capacity. And we build capacity, so technical capacities, so programmers, developers, and all of that, but also building capacity across corporate industries, so training business leaders and creating the demand for technology and the technology that we're building, and also building capacity with government entities so that they understand and they're able to align in the ecosystem that we're building. So that is what Adenium Lab is, and the Africa Blockchain Center is one of the 2 centers of excellences that have been launched by Africa Blockchain Center. Last year, we launched the AI Center of Excellence, which Natasha, so we launched the AI Center of Excellence, and in the last few months, from last year, December, that the center has existed, we've already trained 35 data scientists, engineers. We are soon launching the next cohort, and the AI Center of Excellence aims to train 10,000 data scientists in Africa in the next 5 years. And out of that model was also how the Africa Blockchain Center was born. So our mission at Africa Blockchain Center, or ABC, is to build blockchain capacity. We need to walk the talk. So training blockchain programmers, and there's a number. Is it 6,000 or 10,000?
It's 6,000.
6,000. So we want to train 6,000 blockchain programmers in the next 5 years. And we are starting now. And this training will take place in 5 countries: Kenya, Tanzania, Nigeria, Zambia, and South Africa. And we will scale it from there. We also run blockchain for business programs where we train business leaders in key industries on how to understand blockchain and how it's applicable to their businesses, and how to also get blockchain ready. Yeah. And we also are open to talking to governments and decision makers and policy makers on how they can create the right policies and regulation around blockchain.
And I'd like to share a story in regards to blockchain and why it's the future for Africa. Satoshi Nakamoto is a pseudonym. No one knows who he is. It might be a group of people, maybe hackers, depends. But the concept of the white paper was to provide wealth creation. So the white paper for blockchain technology as it is was to show a way of providing transparency Immutability. Immutability means that it cannot be changed among specific people, whether it's this group or the world as it is. The third point was, how do you provide data that can be distributed across multiple places in the world and still retain its same state? It was a beautiful paper because it actually changed the way we see value in money. Everyone, we flew in and we were supposed to change the currency we have to Tanzanian shillings. But then again, if I ask you, right now you have that piece of currency. If somebody stole it, you'll feel hurt, isn't it? Now the question is why? Because it has value. The computation paper, or the white paper, which had the computation on the foundations of the blockchain protocols, or every type of blockchain protocol built, was on how do you manipulate that value. So this basically means that you are quite incited to the point that you can manipulate value across different currencies, cryptocurrencies, and that gives you access to a whole different world. A world which we see transparency across governmental organizations and specific groups of people, a world which we can actually see each other and create trust, and a world which shows authenticity in regards to how we store our data. It's a beautiful world if you think about it. It's a world which, it might create a new revolution, and it means that the data which you have, you own your data. You literally own your data, which is quite unique because right now, if you leave, the amount of transactions you've done in Tanzania for the guys who visited Tanzania remain in Tanzania. Any KYC data which you have accessed, provided using your credit card or ATM card or facial recognition, remains in Tanzania. You don't move with your data. Now you see, if you don't move with your data, it means people who might have some interesting bad thoughts in regards to how they might use your data maliciously might have that opportunity. Blockchain creates a world where we can feel free, share our thoughts, and still make transactions, whether anonymously or pseudonymously, but you can still retain the value of the currency within that ecosystem. Now, Satoshi's white paper is quite well placed. The reason is because he had a view, or the group had a view on how we can focus on wealth creation for the world. That's true. I'm not going to the technological bit. I want guys to actually understand what blockchain technology is from that perspective. Because if you do, then when you move to programming and software development, deployments, and all that, you will have a different thinking. We know that the web has three main phases. There's Web 1.0, or the first, wave of the web, and that is more on the read. We just used to read data from a network, online web pages. You still access it. There's still, some people utilize Web 1.0. But then again, when we move to Web 2.0, which is what people are using right now, is in regards to how you can read and write from whether a front-end application to how you can write on databases, whether it's structured data or unstructured data. And most developers, because I believe that developers in the house, software engineers, software architects, developers, developers in the house. So most developers work with Web 2.0. And the reason is because that you work on an application any type of application, whether it's making transactions, whether it's identity management, whether any type of thought process, you'll work on it, but then again, you'll store it in a database. And it's done. So the architecture is mostly the application APIs, how you interface with the database. So the API mostly has the logic, any logic, your thought process, how you map it out, and then it normally writes on a database based on the data structure you have provided for the DB. Now, when we come to Web 3.0, that's where the fun part starts, because this is mostly focused on read, write, execute. Now, the execution bit now is where you need to understand how consensus works. Consensus is I'd say it's an expensive name. Basically, it only means that you have a selected group of people that can actually validate what you're trying to save in the database. That's all. It's not anything else. Now, the consensus mechanism basically means that you have the logic on how to set up how various group of people view how you pass data to the database. So for example, I can say, I'm working on a decentralized application. Cool. Ethereum or Avalanche, Avax, Solana, EOS, depends. Doesn't matter. It's just a protocol. The concept still remains. So I'd say, okay, so my consensus, the last line, the middle line, so these people will validate my microtransactions on the network. And I'd say for this side, they'll validate how I'll store data in the database. But then again, how do I know that they won't tamper with the transactions? Because they can. I actually gave them access to validate every transaction I make if I'm using the transaction methodology. And on this side, they validate all the transactions, but then again, how sure am I that I can trust them? I don't know them. I'm just an engineer. But then again, the same people also undergo something we call an election cycle. So it means that the guys interacting with the application, each of them have a vote. They can vote. So that's how I acquire trust in my application. And if I acquire trust and I use all the other attributes of blockchain, then I have an application that can be used by the whole world without being tampered with, providing transparency to everyone using the application, whether it's the stakeholders, whether it's the clients of the application, or whether it's even the founders of whatever company. They can actually see everything that goes by. It means I have an application that if it fails right now, I have the same copy of the data stored in a million places and it won't be tampered with, because remember, blockchain technology again is built on cryptography. So it means there's a lot of security. If you tamper with one block in the chain, which was explained by a good friend over there, if you tamper with one block, the whole chain is purged. Purging means that the whole chain is deleted from the network. But again, I have multiple nodes which have the same state of the chain, and there's a self-healing mechanism.
Okay, that is the picture of what blockchain is. How are we applying it in everyday work at ABC, but also what is the potential and what are the different applications for everyday solutions that it can be applied?
I was actually moving there.
Okay.
But just to finalize on that, you can actually restore the state of the database in whatever part of the world, which means that your application will always be bulletproof. Now, in the Africa Blockchain Center, we're mostly focused on teaching the deep concepts around blockchain technology. So to give you some of the use cases which we have worked on, we have a couple of startups under the Adenium umbrella. For example, Payland. Payland is one of the startups or companies which we have under the Adenium umbrella. And the African blockchain has worked on how to secure the transactions which are being carried out within the application. So it means that we're just using blockchain, a component of blockchain technology. It can be parachain or sidechain that can save and secure the transactions which are being carried out in the application. We have another use case, Afya Record. Afya Record is a smart platform in regards to how you save and monitor various health records. And we've also used blockchain technology powered by research and development, as mentioned by the founder, to see how best we can store records of health and also use identity management, which can actually peg on the records which you can access in any part of the world. Your record, your data, you use your data, you own your data. A couple of research projects which you're working on. So an example is a platform which we're building to see how we can demystify blockchain technology to various companies or startup companies or companies which have already existing development teams, but they don't have to procure blockchain developers. But then again, they can tap into the dynamic smart platforms which you're building to see how they can access blockchain technology by just modifying the business logic within our platform. Another use case is this security. So we are working on a chain which can secure data in regards to asymmetric cryptography and see how best that if you run the data within that layer, it's encrypted in 6 different dimensions. So this means that for you to decipher, you'd have to use like, let's say 4 different tools. So imagine a world which you could be able to see everything that you do. You can validate, whether it's drinking water, you can exactly know where it's from. You want to comment? I mean, it's an interesting world if you think, you know, it's a whole ecosystem. And the Africa Blockchain Center, we mainly focus on local talent, but because I believe Africa is the next wave. We're in it now. There is no tomorrow. There is no 5 years later. This is the small window we have as Africa to make the change that the world can see. And we believe in that. We mainly focus on research and development every single day because we believe that blockchain technology, of course, creating smart solutions with artificial intelligence and the Internet of Things, we can be able to create solutions that will actually help so many people globally.
If I can add to what Jeff is saying, when you talk about the 4th industrial revolution, which is a technology revolution, it is underpinned by data. You know, we keep hearing these sentences like data is the new oil, data is this, data is that. And, you know, when you look at our continent and our history on where we come from, how, you know, we were an industrialized economy and then we were not, and there's been all these different things that has happened to bring our continent to where we are. With this 4th industrial revolution, we have a very unique opportunity to change the trajectory of this continent. And this opportunity lies with this generation, whether you're 18, 20, 40, 60, the fact that you're alive today, it means we're tasked with that responsibility on how we change the trajectory of Africa specifically. And this is because if we do not own our own data, think about what that means 50 years from now, 100 years from now. It will be something that we will not be able to undo for, I don't know, until what revolution comes about. So this is what truly drives our work at Adenium Labs, and our work with the Africa Blockchain Center, the Africa Center of Excellence, and all the different startups. And that's why we're on a mission to build 300, and maybe we will get to 300. Maybe we will get to 1,000. But the point is, how do we intentionally, and put all our resources and build the building blocks and building an ecosystem where we will build these companies. We will make sure that they're sustainable, they're scalable, and it forms a base of how Africa owns its own data, whether it's healthcare, agriculture, SME and informal economy, whatever it is. How do we make sure that we build solutions that will allow for us to collect and keep our own data and use it for our own good, and when need be, partner with anyone else who comes around and create value for it, because the value of this continent now and in the future, and that's why these conversations on smart technologies are taking place, is in data. How do we collect data? How do we make it accessible, right? So that we can collect all different types of data. It's in the solutions that we build. How do we make this data valuable? It's in what technology we use. And, again, technology is just an enabler. At the end of it, and that's why I said at the beginning, our focus is to incubate and build impact-driven solutions. Is how is this technology creating that impact where it's in agri? One of our Tanzanian startups, Fema Agri, Daniela, an agri-tech company that was launched last year with a mission to provide value to farmers, So when you think about farmers in Tanzania, smallholder farmers, big issues, first, access to resource, whether it's funding, capacity, the right inputs, it's an entire challenge. And then how do they take all of that to market, from increasing their yield, making sure it's of quality, to accessing markets. So they came up with a very disruptive model and built a crowdfunding platform where Jeff, I, and any of you can farm virtually, meaning that money goes to support farmers in whatever value chain, and they're given the right inputs, the right capacity. So a farmer's worry is just to follow the science and create the yield, because at the end of the day, the same company will offtake. And that model had to stop because in Tanzania, the crowdfunding policies were not straightforward. It was considered illegal. And Daniela spent the last year negotiating with the government of Tanzania through CMSA. And last week, they were granted, for the first time ever, a crowdfunding license, meaning, beyond Fema Agri, think about the things other innovations can do around crowdfunding model, solving one of the biggest issues, which is access to fund, whether it's farmers, whether it's in healthcare, so please, a big round of applause. So this also shows how Tanzania as a government is thinking and moving towards the right direction.
Yes.
I think this pretty much sums up. I think I would just like to end this by a call to action to say that, we're setting up in Tanzania. So Adenium Labs is officially setting up in Tanzania. We want by January to incubate, starting with 5 startups, but the mission is, out of the 300 startups that we're building, can 30% of, even higher, come from Tanzania? So we're launching a call for startups application in the next weeks, and we are hoping to get as much response from different startups as possible, but we're also looking to train. We're launching our blockchain programming training, AI training, technology training. So please, let's share this information, because we want to transform the job market as much as possible. But our model will not work if we don't have the right partners. So we are welcoming you, whether you're from the government, from the development partners, sector, private sector, come one, come all. Let's join forces and be intentional about transforming technology and tapping into the 4th industrial revolution if we want to have tangible outcomes. Thank you very much.